welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Renny.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Josh. And today we are going to be going over a poem, the most famous poem written by Percy Shelley, known for being the husband of Mary Shelley. That poem is Ozymandias. Renny, you have a discussion starter?
Yes, are the romantic poets of the British 19th century still relevant?
Interesting.
To an extent, yes. A lot of them probably used opium. I know.
Oh, he did. He used laudanum. He said he never went a day without laudanum.
There you go.
I'll explain laudanum. Laudanum was like aspirin until 1910. You could buy it over the counter. It was opium dissolved in alcohol and was billed to cure your headaches, your backaches, your insomnia, and your upset stomachs, and I'm sure it cured all of them. It also made you a dope addict.
It was like Pepto-Bismol meets opium.
A Valium, heavy Valium.
Yeah.
To an extent, yes.
Coleridge and the Rime of the Ancient Mariner is still viewed and quoted in today's day and age.
So is The World is All Still With Us by Tennyson, and Tintern Abbey by Tennyson.
Tintern Abbey is Wordsworth.
Wordsworth is Tintern Abbey, yes.
I do think Wordsworth is relevant. I think Blake
is pre-romantic. But yes, well, I always tell my students that the romantics are sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Exactly.
So definitely part of today. And Ozymandias was written in 1816. It is almost Petrarchan sonnet, not entirely. But at the time, the Egyptian hieroglyphics had not been translated in thousands of years. They are about to be by a young man. It's only a teenager, Champollion in France, is going to break the key to the ancient hieroglyphics, but not yet. So Ozymandias is probably what we would say today is Ramses II, who left 80 million statues of himself in Egypt. He knocked everybody else down so he could put up his statues. And there was a giant head in Upper Egypt that adventurer, an Italian adventurer named Belzoni, who actually helped discover the Valley of the Kings, got permission, because at that time it was a British colony. It had been taken by the British when they defeated Napoleon in Egypt, and he got permission. He was going to put it on a raft and bring it down the Nile to the Mediterranean and send it to England, but it capsized. And so someplace the head is still there. The head would probably be as big as this room.
Oh, wow.
Big room. One of the monumental statues. So this is probably what caused the writing, and I'm going to read it since it's short and we're talking about it. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sheer of cold command tell that its sculpture well these passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay, nothing of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." And I think it is the most romantic of poems because it is the past that we're trying to recover. Michael Wood says archaeology is the most romantic of sciences. It tries to restore to the present the lost past. It's the yearning for it. And it is also the idea of great power being mutable and ephemeral.
I think that hubris, one of the things that connects this with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which that was the first thing I thought about between Percy Shelley's Ozymandias and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, is that idea that somebody felt that they had that ability to possess godlike power. A human doing so is only bound to see their utopia and almighty creation crumble.
Well, Frankenstein's subtitle is Prometheus Unbound. So that is Prometheus, the creator god, let loose. That's what people that are so-called anarchists think they want to do. They really do not want to do that, but that's what they think they want to do. Well, Ozymandias, whoever he was, yes, has at one time ruled whatever you can see. You can in Egypt stand in the desert and see from horizon to horizon, and you see nothing. Probably under the sand there's material, but you see nothing. And so he had this vast empire, and now it is lost to time and sand and is not recoverable.
That's a lot of things in history. Humans that feel that they can engage in this timeless act or rulership, it is difficult to impossible to have that eternal bearing over society.
The Roman emperors, excuse me, they did something, and you can correct me on this because I don't know what they did. When they had a triumph and they rode through Rome, in front of them would be all the gold they were bringing back, all the slaves they were bringing back, whatever it is they were bringing back. But somebody stood behind them on the chariot and either beat them or constantly removed their crown, did something to remind them.
It said, "You're not a man. You're still a man, or you're just a man." Or
Right.
something
In
like
other
that.
words, this is just ephemeral. This will pass. No matter how much glory you have, it's not permanent.
Yeah, it's temporary. Although we have our good times, we have our bad times. You know, when we hear, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, when we hear "this too shall pass," we always, more often than not, associate it with negative connotations. But again, this too shall pass. I just won $10,000 on the lottery. That too will pass very quickly.
It's that whole idea, as George S. Kaufman reminds us, you can't take it with you.
Well,
Yes, yeah, you can't take it with you.
You can't. I want to, but I can't.
And the Romantics were very much enthralled by ruins, nature, being part of the desert, those emotions that you would feel. They invented the self and the I. Freud will give us the ego, but that comes from the Romantics. And so, yes, so he has a story within a story because it's a travel. I saw a traveler who told me this. It's not first hand. It is also third hand to get its story. But yes, they love the idea of antique lands, the arabesque, which of course comes from Arab. Poe wrote the grotesque and the arabesque. This was something that was, I guess, because after classicism, which was columns, and if you had a lion on one side of the driveway, there was a lion on the other side of the driveway, and they talked in the third person or the omniscient. But yeah, now everything is what you feel. Unfortunately, some of that today has gone bizarre. Yes, it was the emergence of feeling as a way of knowing. That's what the Transcendentalists said. You could know it, you could feel it, you didn't have to learn it.
It was something rather, in a way, you could say it was acquired, in a way, but not taught to you.
You knew it from your heart. That's Emerson.
Yes.
It comes from your heart. I don't particularly actually believe that as a teacher, because I think that you have to learn. Yes, but the Romantics felt you could just know it. And so he has this beautiful image of this faraway statue that he's never going to see, but he imagines.
We have any final thoughts?
I kind of like how he uses the sand, right? It's reminiscent of what Christ said, where a house built on sand will not stand, right?
Right.
Over time. So I think that bringing that imagery into it really kind of sets home the idea that this is from a bygone era and is all but forgotten.
Yes. Vast and level sand stretch far away. Well, I love the poem.
Yeah, I think that it is. It's great that we were able to touch upon Percy Shelley, and especially his most noteworthy.
I have to say,
piece.
in the newer editions of the English 2 textbooks that we use at Ocean County College, Shelley is not included. there's 4 or 5 by Keats. He seems, first it was Byron, and then Shelley kind of replaced Byron, and now Keats seemed to have replaced Shelley, but I think Shelley is the best of them.
Out of the three?
Yes, of the 3. I like Keats, I certainly like Byron, but I think Shelley,
Mhm.
for emotion, especially Ode to a Skylark Bird Thou Never Wert, that's even more fantastic, but this is shorter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I also really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fine poem.
Horace Smith also wrote an Ozymandias poem. Shelley allegedly was competing with him to write the better poem. As far as the test of time is concerned, we talk a lot more about Shelley than we do about Horace Smith.
Well, Shelley had the advantage that when he rode off into the storm and never came back, that Mary had his journals, and she really wrote his poetry and promoted him, because many of his things weren't in any kind of form. So it is thankful to Mary Shelley. I'm glad she was rediscovered by the feminists in the 70s for Frankenstein, because many people said Percy really wrote Frankenstein, because it was originally published anonymously. He couldn't get anything published in his lifetime because he'd been thrown out of school for proclaiming he was an atheist, and his father disowned him. So I don't even know how they lived, because they had no money. She later supported herself because she wrote articles and she contributed to encyclopedias, and she was the professional of the family.
Mary Shelley's mother was a very hardcore feminist.
Yes, she was the first major feminist. Wollstonecraft, yes.
Yes.
And Mary, when she was married to Shelley, they had 5 years, and she had 4 children, 3 of whom died.
Wow.
Only 1 survived.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
that
she
was
died
the
pretty
part-
young, too.
54. She was young too. Yes,
Mhm.
by our standards, she was young.
Mhm. But if you're interested in checking out Percy Shelley and several other major British poets, here is my collection that I referred to. This was edited by Oscar Williams and includes everybody from William Blake to Dylan Thomas.
That's a good one.
So it is a great range. But be sure to join us next time on another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi there, this is Josh, and on the next episode of Literary Gladiators, Larry, Charlie, and I will be discussing The Bald Soprano by Eugene Ionesco. It is a play, and I can promise you that it is going to get heated. If you like what you see on this channel, please support us on Patreon. For the more money that we are able to make, the more material we are able to produce. Thank you for tuning in to this discussion, and for now, keep reading.